One of the greatest traps we fall into in life is the desire to please everyone. We want everyone to like us, everyone to appreciate us, everyone to say good things about us. And in this endless race of gaining approval, we slowly, quietly lose ourselves. When we were kids, we used to be so natural, so honest. If we liked something, we said it. If we didn't, we said that too. We lived with freedom. But as we grow older, society teaches us something different. Don't upset anyone. Don't disagree. Fit in. And little by little, we start wearing masks. We smile when we're not happy. We say yes when our heart is screaming no. We go to places we don't enjoy, meet people we don't connect with, and do things that drain our energy, all just to keep everyone else comfortable. But let me tell you a simple truth. No matter how hard you try, you can never please everyone. Someone will always find fault. Someone will always misunderstand you. Someone will always think you could have done better. And that's okay. Because your worth doesn't come from people's approval. Your worth comes from your authenticity, from living in alignment with your values. You see, when you constantly try to please others, you start losing the most important relationship you have, the relationship with yourself. You start doubting your own voice. You begin to think that peace comes from acceptance, when in reality, peace comes from truth. It's far better to be disliked for being real than to be loved for being fake. People who truly care about you will respect your honesty, even if they disagree with you. And those who leave when you stop pleasing them were never truly there for you in the first place. So stop trying to be everything for everyone. You don't need to say yes to every request. You don't need to be available every time someone calls. You don't need to change your values just to belong. The people meant for you will find you when you start being yourself. Life becomes peaceful the day you stop performing for the world and start living for your soul. And that doesn't mean you become selfish or rude. It simply means you start choosing honesty over approval, truth over comfort, and purpose over popularity. Remember, even God doesn't please everyone. And yet, He remains who He is, loving, kind, and constant. So why should we exhaust ourselves trying to do what even the divine doesn't? So today, take a deep breath and remind yourself, it's okay if not everyone likes you. It's okay if someone misunderstands you. It's okay if you walk a different path. Because the people who truly see you will stay, and the peace you find within yourself will be worth every goodbye. Be kind, but don't lose yourself in the process. Be helpful, but don't forget your own needs. Be loving, but remember to love yourself too. Because the world doesn't need another person who tries to please everyone. It needs someone who dares to be real. And that someone can be you. Authenticity over approval. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest lessons to truly live by. From the moment we are born, we start seeking approval. As children, we look for a smile from our parents when we do something right. At school, we crave appreciation from teachers and friends. As adults, we look for validation from society, our colleagues, our partners, even strangers on the internet. This constant search for approval becomes such a normal part of life that we don't even realize how deeply it controls our decisions, our emotions, and our identity. But what happens when this desire to be liked overshadows our desire to be true to ourselves? We start losing authenticity. We start losing the connection with our inner voice, that pure, intuitive sense of what feels right and what doesn't. We begin to live not from our soul, but from the expectations of others. And slowly, without noticing, we drift away from who we really are. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when every part of you wanted to say no? How many times have you smiled and agreed just to avoid conflict? How many times have you changed your words, your actions, or even your dreams just to be accepted? Each time we do that, we give away a small piece of our authenticity. And while it may win us temporary approval, it steals away long-term peace. When we live for approval, we live in constant fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. It's like carrying invisible chains around our soul. We dress a certain way, talk a certain way, post certain things, all so that we can fit into someone's definition of what's right. But the truth is, fitting in is not the same as belonging. Fitting in is changing yourself to be accepted. Belonging is being accepted because you are yourself. Authenticity means you live from your inner truth, not external pressure. It means you act based on your values, not other people's opinions. It means your words align with your heart and your actions align with your purpose. When you're authentic, you stop pretending, you stop performing, you simply are. And that being, that calm confidence of being real, is the foundation of true peace. There's a story that beautifully captures this idea. A man once went to a wise monk and said, "I've spent my whole life trying to make everyone happy. I've done everything they asked me to do, yet still people criticize me. What should I do?" The monk smiled and replied, "My dear, you could be the ripest, juiciest mango in the world, but there will always be someone who hates mangoes." That's the truth of life. No matter how perfect you try to be, someone will always find something to dislike. So why waste your energy molding yourself for everyone's comfort when you can live freely as yourself? When you live authentically, you might disappoint others, but you will stop disappointing yourself. You may lose some people, but you will finally find yourself. You may face criticism, but you'll earn respect, the kind that only honesty attracts. The people who truly love you will love you for who you are, not for how well you fit into their expectations. Authenticity doesn't mean you stop caring about others, it means you stop pretending for them. It doesn't mean you become rebellious or arrogant, it means you become real, grounded in your truth, but gentle with others. You can be kind without being fake. You can be helpful without being a people pleaser. You can say no with love, and it's still a complete sentence. The problem is, we often confuse approval with love. We think that if someone approves of us, it means they love us. But love and approval are not the same. Love sees you for who you are and accepts you, flaws and all. Approval only sees you for what you do. It's conditional, temporary, and easily withdrawn. When we chase approval, we become puppets, dancing to other people's tunes. But when we live authentically, we become free. Free to create, to express, to grow. There's a deep peace that comes with authenticity. When your outer world matches your inner world, you no longer have to pretend. You no longer need to keep track of lies, maintain fake smiles, or live double lives. You can wake up every day knowing that who you are is enough. And that's one of the most liberating feelings in the world. But being authentic requires courage. Because the moment you start living your truth, not everyone will understand you. Some people will question your choices, criticize your lifestyle, or even distance themselves. And that's okay. Growth always comes with separation. Not everyone who started the journey with you is meant to finish it with you. When you choose authenticity, you may lose some followers, but you'll gain peace of mind. You may lose attention, but you'll gain self-respect. You may lose fake friends, but you'll attract real ones. You'll find people who resonate with your honesty, who value your boundaries, who appreciate your genuine presence. These are the relationships that nurture your soul instead of draining it. Remember, authenticity doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty. You don't have to have it all figured out to be real. You just have to show up as you are, imperfect, growing, learning. The beauty of authenticity lies in its vulnerability. When you stop pretending to have a perfect life, you give others permission to be real too. You inspire them to drop their masks, to speak their truth, to embrace their humanity. In a world full of filters, being authentic is revolutionary. Everyone shows their highlight reel, but very few show their reality. And yet, it's reality that connects us, not perfection. People relate more to your struggles than to your success. They find hope in your honesty, not in your flawless image. When you live authentically, you don't just free yourself, you free others too. Sometimes we think authenticity will make us lonely, but in truth, it leads us to deeper connections. Because when you live as your true self, you attract people who are aligned with your energy, your purpose, and your heart. You may not have many people around you, but you'll have the right ones. The world often rewards appearance over authenticity. It praises image, status, and conformity. But all of that is temporary. The approval you gain today can vanish tomorrow. People's opinions change like the wind. What remains constant is your inner truth. The question is, are you listening to it? Every time you betray your authenticity to please others, you create inner conflict. And that conflict doesn't go away, it grows. It becomes anxiety, frustration, even depression. Because deep down, your soul knows you're not living your truth. It's like trying to plant a tree in a pot that's too small. It will never thrive. You have to give your roots space. So stop apologizing for being yourself. Stop shrinking to fit into spaces that can't handle your truth. Stop letting fear of disapproval silence your voice. You don't need to be everyone's favorite. You just need to be your own peace. Think of the people you admire most. They're rarely the ones who tried to please everyone. They're the ones who stood firm in their truth, even when it wasn't popular. Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr., or spiritual teachers like Gour, Gopal, they all faced criticism. But they didn't let that stop them. They lived authentically, and that's why their message still touches hearts today. Your authenticity is your gift to the world. There's only one version of you, with your story, your lessons, your journey. If you hide it trying to be someone else, the world loses something irreplaceable. The goal of life isn't to be liked by everyone. It's to live in such a way that when you look in the mirror, you feel peace. When you live authentically, something magical happens. Your energy changes. You stop chasing things that aren't meant for you. You stop forcing relationships, opportunities, or outcomes. Life begins to flow because the universe supports truth. When you are real, you attract what's real. So ask yourself today, are you living to be liked or are you living to be real? Are you chasing applause or are you honoring your peace? Because you can't do both. The world may like the version of you that pleases everyone, but you will only love the version that's authentic. Be brave enough to stand alone if it means standing in your truth. Be patient enough to wait for the right people who see your worth without you having to prove it. Be wise enough to know that approval fades, but authenticity lasts forever. Because in the end, when the noise quiets and the world turns away, the only person you'll be left with is yourself. And if that person is honest, peaceful, and true, you've already won the approval that matters most. Self-respect over acceptance. This is one of the most powerful choices you can ever make in your life. It's a shift from living for the world's approval to living for your own peace. And it's not an easy shift because we are all raised in a world that tells us to be liked, to be accepted, to be approved. From childhood, we are rewarded for fitting in, not for standing out. We are taught that saying yes makes us kind, that agreeing with everyone makes us good, and that keeping others happy makes us valuable. But as we grow, we realize trying to be accepted by everyone often means disrespecting ourselves. Self-respect begins when you understand your worth isn't determined by how others see you. It's determined by how you see yourself when you look in the mirror. It's not about ego or pride. It's about value. You see, when you constantly seek acceptance, you put your happiness in other people's hands. You let their opinions decide your emotions. When they approve, you feel good. When they disapprove, you feel small. But the truth is, no one deserves that kind of power over your peace. There comes a time when you must stop begging for validation and start building your own respect. Because acceptance without respect is empty. You can be surrounded by people who like you, yet still feel lonely inside. You can have hundreds of friends, thousands of followers, and still feel unseen. Why? Because you've built connections on compromise instead of truth. When you value self respect, you no longer tolerate what drains your dignity. You stop forcing conversations that make you feel small. You stop agreeing with things that go against your values. You stop being available to people who treat you like an option. Respecting yourself sometimes means walking away, not because you hate anyone, but because you love your peace more. It's not selfish to prioritize your peace, it's self care. You can love people deeply and still choose distance. You can forgive and still set boundaries. You can be kind and still say no. People who don't understand your boundaries will call you selfish, but people who respect themselves will understand. You teach others how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. If you constantly compromise, tolerate disrespect, or stay silent to be accepted, you tell the world that your boundaries don't matter. Many people confuse humility with weakness. But humility doesn't mean letting others walk over you. It means having the strength to remain calm, kind, and dignified without losing your sense of self. A person who respects themselves can bend in kindness, but never break in character. They can love deeply, but never lose themselves in love. There's a beautiful saying, when you learn to respect yourself, everyone else learns too. When you honor your values, others either rise to meet your standards or naturally fall away. And that's how life filters out what doesn't serve you anymore. Not everyone who likes you is good for you. Not everyone who accepts you will respect you. Sometimes you lose people when you start respecting yourself, but you'll never lose peace. Think about how much energy we waste trying to be accepted. We wear masks to fit into places where our soul doesn't belong. We chase people who don't see our value. We try to prove our worth to those who've already decided to misunderstand us. And all the while, the quiet voice within us whispers, "You deserve better." That voice is your inner compass. It's your higher self reminding you that your time, your energy, and your peace are sacred. Every time you choose self-respect, that voice grows stronger. Every time you say no to something that doesn't honor you, your soul becomes lighter. Because every no to what drains you is a yes to what fulfills you. Self-respect also means accepting yourself fully. The strengths, the flaws, the past mistakes, and the lessons learned. When you respect yourself, you no longer chase perfection, you chase growth. You understand that making mistakes doesn't make you unworthy. It makes you human. You stop seeking validation and start seeking understanding. You begin to live from a space of self-acceptance instead of self-judgment. When you truly respect yourself, your decisions change. You no longer settle for relationships where love feels like begging. You no longer work in places that compromise your values. You no longer let people guilt you into doing things that harm your peace. You start walking away quietly, without anger, because you've learned that protecting your inner calm is more important than proving your point. And yes, it's hard. Choosing self-respect means you will sometimes stand alone. You will lose people who only liked the version of you that said yes to everything. You will disappoint those who benefited from your silence. But that's okay, because every time you choose self-respect, you're telling the universe that you're ready for better people, better opportunities, better peace. There's a quiet strength in self-respect. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't fight to be seen. It simply exists with confidence and calm. People can sense it. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you no longer chase what isn't meant for you. That kind of energy is magnetic. It attracts those who value you and repels those who don't. In life, acceptance is nice, but it's not essential. You don't need everyone to understand you to be at peace. You just need to understand yourself. You don't need to be accepted by the whole world. You just need to be at home within your own heart. Acceptance may bring temporary comfort, but self-respect brings lasting fulfillment. There's a story of a wise man who once said, "If you live for people's acceptance, You will die from their rejection. That's the truth. When you depend on others for your sense of worth, your peace becomes fragile. The moment they change their opinion, your entire identity shakes. But when you live from self respect, your peace is rooted deep within you. No matter who comes or goes, your value remains intact. Self respect also teaches you patience. You stop rushing to explain yourself to everyone. You stop justifying your choices. You realize that silence can be more powerful than argument. Because when you respect yourself, you no longer need everyone's approval to feel secure. You understand that not everyone will see your heart clearly, and that's fine. Those who are meant to stay will see your intentions through your actions, not your explanations. Self respect turns pain into wisdom. When someone disrespects you, instead of reacting with anger, you learn to respond with grace. You don't lower your standards, you simply raise your boundaries. You don't prove your worth, you live it quietly. You don't chase closure, you create it within yourself. You also begin to notice how your relationships change. The moment you start respecting yourself, the dynamic around you shifts. People either begin to treat you better or they leave, and both outcomes are blessings. You begin attracting people who value honesty over convenience, loyalty over attention, depth over drama. You find peace in solitude because you finally realize that being alone is better than being disrespected. And here's something important. Self-respect is not about building walls, it's about building gates. Walls keep everyone out, gates let the right ones in. You learn to be open, hearted but discerning. You learn to love people without losing yourself in love. You learn to forgive without reopening the same wound. You learn that boundaries don't distance love, they protect it. Respecting yourself means you treat yourself the way you wish others would. You speak kindly to yourself. You take care of your body, your mind, and your spirit. You give yourself rest when you need it. You listen to your emotions instead of suppressing them. You keep promises to yourself. Because if you can't respect your own boundaries, no one else will. In the end, life is too short to live for acceptance. Acceptance is fragile. It fades with trends, with moods, with people's changing opinions. But self-respect, that's eternal. It stays with you through every storm, every rejection, every season of solitude. It's the quiet voice inside that says, I'm proud of who I am, even if no one else claps. So choose self-respect over acceptance, not once, but every single day. Choose it in your words, in your relationships, in your work, and in your silence. Because when you respect yourself, you stop chasing love. You attract it. You stop begging for validation. You embody it. You stop looking for peace outside. You carry it within. And that is where true freedom begins. When you realize that you don't need to be accepted by everyone to be complete. You just need to accept yourself, respect yourself, and live in alignment with your truth. Then, no matter who comes or goes, you'll always have your most loyal companion, your own soul.